Yeah, here's my guest today, Layton Lillas.
Well, thank you for having me, Dave. This has been a long time coming, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here for the pilot episode of your podcast. So,
yeah. I'm excited. Thank you very much, dude. Well, look, let's just jump right into it. You're a songwriter. I'm a songwriter.
Yep.
And this is a podcast about songwriting.
Yep.
So this weekend, when I was hanging out with you, you told me that you wrote a song for... Was it Gerry of Gerry and the Pacemakers?
Yeah, Gerry Marsden. So Gerry was, he was a legend from the Liverpool American invasion era. The Beatles. He was managed by Brian Epstein, who also managed the Beatles. So I toured Gerry for about 3 or 4 tours of New Zealand and Australia, and in a couple of tours in the UK when I worked there. So I got to know the man. And he sadly passed away 2021, I think it was during the pandemic anyway. And I've had an idea of a song called The King of Liverpool that has taken a long time to kind of reach the light of day. And that's what I was talking to you about at the weekend. But been songwriting, well, do you want to tell you how it all started?
Yeah, so just to kind of talk about the flow of how we're going to sort of proceed with this is let's look at this song, The King of Liverpool, because it's really neat. I'd like to hear it a bit. We're going to try a live performance of some of it. Is that right?
Sure.
Maybe like a verse and a chorus or whatever you can. And we'll talk about some of the structure of it. And then in the second half, we're going to talk about your adventures in AI songwriting and a couple of the new things that you've been working on. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, man. Why don't you go ahead and tell me about the Gerry song and the process.
So songwriting comes in many shapes and forms, as you know, Dave. Sometimes you have like a title, sometimes you just strum a bit of a chord pattern, sometimes a melody comes into your head. For me, it often happens when I'm out at a golf course. When I've just got time, I find a little melody comes and I'll hum it into my iPhone. This was a little different, and it isn't how I normally write, but I had an idea that I'd like to present a song to Gerry's widow, a lady called Pauline. And Pauline, she was there right from the start of when Gerry was playing in the Cavern. In fact, she knew the Beatles as well. And she was actually, I think, her and George Harrison, before he went to Hamburg, were actually, young. Yeah, there was some. They were young lovers, as it were.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So she was there right at that point, and over long drives around New Zealand and Australia, I'd hear lots of stories. I'd shared lots of lunches with these people, and they became my friends. So when Gerry passed away, I wanted to give a song to Pauline as my memory of Gerry, and I came up with the title, The King of Liverpool. Well, I reckon, unlike most songs I write, this thing's had about 3 different incarnations. I started on a piano, but I'm not a very good piano player. So then I grabbed the acoustic guitar, and Gerry was known for quite upbeat Brit pop, jingly jangly 60s type songs. So I wanted it to be a happy song. And what did I do? I ended up pulling out the saddest of all keys, to quote Spinal Tap.
That's right, you did.
I pulled out a D minor.
D minor.
D minor.
All right. So before we get into it,
yeah,
it's fascinating because actually I don't know about Gerry and the Pacemakers, and we know that in the 60s there was this thing, the British invasion.
Yeah.
And the Beatles were the ones that got put up on the pedestal, right? It was the Beatles and the Stones. We all know about that. But there's all kinds of other bands, and some of them didn't quite make those heights, but they're fantastic bands, like the Kinks and what was it, Herman's Hermits?
Herman's Hermits,
right?
Well, yeah.
So now you toured and promoted a lot of some of these bands from that era.
Yeah.
And Gerry and the Pacemakers is one of them. And I don't know much about Gerry and the Pacemakers. Like I didn't know much about Herman's Hermits either. So can you tell me a bit about Gerry and the Pacemakers and maybe a couple of their hits?
Yeah. So Gerry and the Pacemakers, I think, well, they were both managed by Brian Epstein, obviously. So when the Beatles were releasing, I think, after Love Me Do, so that would have been 1963, I believe. By 1964, Brian had also found other groups that were from that area. So around that time, there were Gerry and the Pacemakers, the Searchers, Herman's Hermits, and the Hollies both came from Manchester, which, if you know England geography, I mean, it's literally, I think it's the M62. They're literally about probably 20 miles away from each other, but very different, both Northern England cities, but they are very different in terms of, they don't consider themselves to be similar people at all. The Liverpool people, Scousers, they call them.
Yep.
It was a port town. I think there's a big Irish influence. Very different to Manchester, who are Lancashire.
Okay, wait.
Anyway.
Now, I know of the Hollies, and that's Graham Nash's band.
Well, it's funny you say that because...
Yeah. Oh, he was in it.
He was in it, yeah. He was in the earliest incarnation. So I also toured the Hollies as well in later years. It still featured Tony Hicks, the guitar player, and Bobby Elliott, the drummer. But yeah, Graham Nash, he was in it for the very early songs like Bus Stop.
Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress?
No, see, I think by the time Long Cool Woman came around,
yep,
Graham Nash had long gone for Crosby, Stills and Nash. You may need to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that was in the 70s, which is well after Graham had left.
Oh, wow. So when you toured the Hollies, who was in the band calling themselves the original Hollies? Which members?
Tony, the guitar player,
yeah,
who started out with Graham Nash. It was Graham Nash and Tony Hicks, and Bobby Elliott, the drummer. So they, like a lot of these groups, don't forget they've been around 50 years. So Graham Nash left. He was replaced by a guy called Terry Sylvester, I think. Time goes on. The bass player Eric Haydock left. He gets replaced, carries on. Finally, Alan Clark, the singer, left, and he gets replaced by a couple of different people. But the group carries on. I mean, bands do that. They change members. It's just that we get caught up with the fact that we remember the original groups, the original group members. But going back to Gerry, around the time of when the Beatles did the British invasion,
yep,
you know, they were on the Ed Sullivan Show. That busted it all open for them. Gerry had his first 3 songs, I believe, were all #1 hits. That was I Like It, I Like It, I Like It, I like the... How Do You Do It? Mm-hmm. How do you do what you do to me? See, I'm doing like a little bit of Liverpool accent. And probably the most well-known one is You'll Never Walk Alone. Now, You'll Never Walk Alone was a cover of a song out of the musical Carousel, but he totally reimagined it. And funnily enough, I wanted for my song, The King of Liverpool...
Wait. He made a pop hit
out of a song from Carousel.
Carousel is a musical.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I've heard of that one. In the kind of vein of like a...
Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Okay.
I think. Like way back. Yeah. So a bit of a classic. I'm not that familiar with the actual musical itself, but he took that song and look, I don't know for sure. You might need to have a look in post. But I think their version was, when you walk through the park, but your head's up high. They had like a little, it was like a little 2/4 typey thing. He made it like...
No, wait. I think it goes like this. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie.
That's Amore.
Isn't that how that song goes?
No, that's called That's Amore. Yeah.
Oh,
maybe I've taken the same tune. I know it was very different from how Gerry reimagined it. He turned it into a big epic ballad that starts there and ends there.
Okay, hang on a second now. This song, You'll Never Walk Alone.
Yep.
How are you liking it so far, too? You didn't like my little... Dean Martin did that song. That's Amore, too, by the way. Okay. That song, You'll Never Walk Alone.
Yes.
So you're telling me that this was a hit by Gerry and the Pacemakers,
Yeah.
but it was actually a cover from a show
musical.
called Carousel.
Correct. Yeah.
The thing is, okay, I listened to a lot of oldies radio with my dad when I was a kid. And some of these bands I'm still not familiar with. Like, I remember the Hollies and obviously the Beatles and the Stones. But when it came to Herman's Hermits, and I'm sorry, Hermits, the living members, and Gerry and the Pacemakers, they weren't as popular. I don't know these songs. I'm not familiar with, or maybe just one or two. You know what I mean? So to me, it's a new song. I've never heard of. You'll Never Walk Alone?
So You'll Never Walk Alone ended up being taken on as the anthem of the Liverpool Football Club. So they sing it every game. So anyone that's a Liverpool Football Club fan worldwide knows that song, and it means something to their heart, because there was a stampede in a grandstand at an away game in the 80s, and Gerry re-recorded it at that point, and the funds went to the families. So it had a resurgence, I think, in the 80s. But yeah, look, I think their careers back then, Dave, were very, very quick. You know, like it's like even the Beatles, they often talk about, it was all wrapped up in 6 years. Is that correct? I think, but from when the Love Me Do came out, in 1962 or 63.
Yeah.
It was all done.
Well, the funny thing is, whenever you dig up
1969.
footage, they must be doing this for, to show how ironic it is. Because whenever you see footage of a rock star saying, well, I don't know if I'll... And I've seen footage of Jimmy Page say this.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's just a kid, and he's a session musician. He's like, I don't know how long I'll get to do this for. I've seen
Mick Jagger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mick Jagger, Rod Stewart. I've seen him say, I didn't think I was going to last.
Yeah.
And it's always these guys that have had 60-year careers.
Yeah.
It's really odd, because I do know, though, that the norm back in those days was a very short career, kind of like almost a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
So the fact that they even that all those years later get to tour together with their friends from childhood.
Yeah.
It almost is Spinal Tap-esque. You know? Yeah.
Well, not every band was able to. So someone like Gerry was a singles artist. He also had another hit later on, I want to say late 60s, called Ferry Cross the Mersey, which was his salute to his hometown. That became very famous, but it was never a number one hit, to my knowledge. Again, probably need to fact check that. But he wasn't known as an album band that was putting out... He did put out albums, but it wasn't like Elton John that was known, or the Eagles later on, and Rod Stewart, where they were album bands. By the time 1970 came around, I think most of these 60s artists, they'd gone to start doing other things. You know, like a lot of them... I know Gerry went into the West End as an actor. A lot of them ended up just finding themselves playing back in the bars again. A lot of them had to go back and get day jobs. It was over. Yeah. And then I believe probably about when most of their fans got through having families and that, they got their second crack at it.
You know what? That's really interesting what you just said about their fans growing up. And it really is the fans. It's so cliche, right? I couldn't have done it without my fans, right?
My fans.
Yeah, well, that was Sting from The Simpsons, if you ever saw that one.
Right.
You know the one where Bart got stuck in a well, and Sting's digging, and he goes, I can't take a break while one of my fans needs me. And Marge goes, I don't know if I've ever seen him listen to any of your records. And Homer goes, shush, Marge, he's a good digger. Yeah. But it's so cliche about, they always say it's for my fans, but it really is the truth, because I was just listening to John Taylor, bass player from Duran Duran, on Rob Lowe's podcast, and he talked about the song Ordinary World. Now...
Is it a Duran Duran song?
It is a Duran Duran song. You don't know that one.
I'm not familiar with it, no.
It was their hit from the 90s, and what he said, and what happened was... It was their second big hit, and he's and the song's actually about kind of settling down into middle age, into domesticity. And these people who came out in the 80s are now living in an ordinary world. And they were so happy, chuffed, as you will, that they, it's an English theme, right?
Yeah.
So that they finally had a hit in the 90s. He said, we've made it into our second decade. And it was because of this group of fans that found them again. And we're like, okay, I'm ready for this. So, because like any band, their career, it peaked and then they were down in the late 80s and suddenly they came back. And he attributes it to the fans. Yeah. And it's exactly what you just said about these guys. Oh, crap, I'm back welding again, right? I'm back changing tires on cars in the rad shop or whatever. But they're fans. It's time. And look at even now that when you're touring these guys, it's those same original fans, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And you want something out of your favorite band at different times in your life. Look, my favorite band of all time, Bon Jovi, right? For me, I'm struggling with them currently because basically John's voice just is struggling. It is not what it once was. But I will always, no matter whether I like to listen to new music, and Spotify and streaming services allows you to do that now, for me, I always go, the songs that move me are the songs from my youth. So Living on a Prayer, because it takes me back. That was when I first got into music. Likewise, I was a huge fan of Aha. It takes me back to where I started. So for those fans, they were all teenagers during that British invasion time. They loved it at the time. They probably gave it a rest for a while. And this is hard for an artist. Not every artist stays valid and popular all the way through. Some of them need to have a break. They come back around 25 years later. There's a bit of a following again. What I did as a concert promoter, I did a lot of bands' 50th anniversary tours, which is crazy. It often was the final thing for these bands where the final hurrah, not just for the band, but for the fans.
Yeah.
A lot of them after that probably were like, I've gone back one last time and brought back those wonderful memories, got a little tear in the eye, sang along to my favorite song. So Gerry is one of those. He wasn't like a Paul McCartney that literally was able to tour constantly and non-stop. Certainly in later years, a lot of those heritage tours, I think they call them now, heritage band tours, like the Eagles have been going on forever. He got enough work. I mean, it's interesting that you weren't familiar from Canada because Canada was a very big market for a lot of the British invasion acts. Likewise, New Zealand and Australia. Not all of them broke America, and some of them broke America but couldn't keep their popularity going in America, but Canada was always one of those markets, a go-to market for them.
And when I say I wasn't familiar, that's just my experience.
Yeah.
I know that my dad had listened to them and was familiar with them, but I'm when I said I grew up listening to oldies radio, and that I was. My dad was a house painter, and we spent long hours on the various construction sites in people's homes listening to oldies radio and the cassettes that he would buy. And I'd always heard those names. So I've heard the names. I mean, come on, man. I know who the Trogs are, for God's sake, right?
Well, I've got an interesting comment about the Trogs. So I got to have a conversation once with Reg Presley, the lead singer of the Trogs. He's since passed away. Would you believe that he made more money out of a song that he wrote called Love Is All Around Us, which was sung by a band called Wet, Wet, Wet.
Wait, is that the one that goes, I can feel it in my
feel it in my bones.
That's okay. I know where the money came from, and he had to wait a long time to get it. I bet it was from that movie Love Actually.
That's it.
Is
Grant.
That it?
Yep. Yeah, Hugh Grant.
Yeah, and they get Bill Nighy to sing it, and he takes the piss. He says something about when I rhyme, like I if you love Christmas, come on and let it snow.
Right.
And he's like he's totally aware of how corny it is, but it's a big hit. And doesn't he do it nude or something?
I'm not sure. But Reg.
But that's actually quite a good movie.
Yeah.
And it's kind of made its, hey man, we all know if you can get something up there into the kind of canon of Christmas, like every year it comes around and like Mariah Carey is singing All the Way to the Bank with her, you know what I mean?
All I Want for Christmas is You.
Yeah. And so that film has kind of made it up into there as one of the great Christmas films now. And so, wow.
So Reg said he never made any money out of Wild Thing.
No, why not?
Because he never wrote it.
He didn't write it.
So the Trogs...
Who wrote it?
I don't know.
I thought you were going to say YouTube copyright claimed it and he got screwed.
No.
Because they'll do that to everything in this podcast. Nobody's making anything here. If we put it on YouTube, it's gone. We just say their name and it's copyright.
Yeah. But so I found that fascinating that Reg had been known for this song, Wild Thing, which everyone in the world knows. Down, 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 down. Yeah. But yet he made little money off it. It's how he made his live revenue for years. That's how he got a crowd. But he never made much money off it. He made it all off Lovers All Around Us, which, interesting enough, he wrote back in the day. But it only became famous when Wet, Wet, Wet did it for that movie. So
is Reg dead now?
Reg is dead, yeah.
Reg is dead.
Poor
Reg. Were they English then?
They were, yeah. They were another
the
one
Trogs.
of those They were like, I would call the Trogs like the Animals.
Yeah.
You know, there was a group that were more gritty. It was kind of led by The Who. Oh. The Who, the Kinks, the Trogs. What would another one of around that sort of ilk be? They were more Stonesy, bluesy.
Yeah.
Manfred Mann. That's another group.
Were they English as well?
They were. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Funny enough, there was the man, Manfred Mann, was South African. But the group that did Doowa Diddy, the Mighty Quinn, all of that, it was an English band. I got some stories on them too because I toured their 50th anniversary. They were another one of those British invasion bands.
I didn't know that there was a man in Manfred Mann. I thought that was just a name. I didn't realize that he was the...
I think the band made the mistake. They're now called the Manfreds because Manfred Mann put something at them years ago saying, sorry, that is my name. It's actually not his name.
It's not his name.
But it's what his stage name is, yeah.
Can you imagine that conversation? Like, I want to be a fly on the wall to hear him going, listen, I am the Manfred Man, okay?
Yeah.
And they're like, well... We're Manfred Mann. No, you can't be the Manfred Mann.
Yeah.
I am the frickin' Manfred Mann.
Well, I think it's one of those things that you need to be really careful when you're coming up with a band name way back in the day, because all of a sudden that sort of thing can bite you in the butt years later.
There's a whole TikTok guy. He's a drummer who's got a side gig as a lawyer, which I think we've heard enough drummer jokes. We can agree that that's a good idea for a drummer to have an income paying side or fallback. Anyway, sorry, drummers out there, I love you. Can I tell that joke?
Sure.
How do you know a drummer's knocking at the door, right? It starts out regular speed and then it just gets faster and faster. Where was I? There's a drummer who's got a side hustle and he's a lawyer and he's got a whole TikTok channel where he gives advice about the band names. And he's got a whole series on this. Like he talks about, you got to be careful, man, who winds up with the band name and everything. It can be a nightmare. And
yeah, well, I know with Van Halen, they're always like that. Like everyone always says, well, why'd you call it Van Halen? And David Lee Roth goes, well, it sounded cooler than Roth. But at the end of the day, it was always known as Van Halen, and there were two Van Halen brothers. The public thinks that it's their band, you know?
Yep. Sort of like with Bon Jovi.
Well, Bon Jovi, look, arguably with Bon Jovi, John had the record deal right up front.
That's right.
With Runaway. So he got the record deal on his own. He then assembled the band after the song had already become a hit. So there's probably an argument that was, he was right to do that. But his name's John Bon Jovi. Just someone said, hey, I got a great idea, like Van Halen. Bon Jovi, that's how it all sort of came about. Yeah.
Well, there was a great interview on Howard Stern a few years ago. I don't know if you ever heard this one. It was about 3 hours with the guys. he had Tico Torres on with him,
Yeah.
and I don't know why Stern kept doing callbacks to Tico Torres, but it was quite funny. And anyway, they got into detail about that, and he like, because I think it's kind of a little known thing that he's like the Tom Petty, but unlike Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, it's his contract. Those guys have always been a band. It's John Bon Jovi is the one with the contract, right? It's
Yeah.
him.
And then he's included, like, as we all know, with songwriting, we were just talking a little moment ago about the Nashville split.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I think the problem is with one person. So, okay, I am going to throw a name out there. Actually, no, I'm not going to throw a name out. There is...
Look, you know what, man? No. Nah, it's up to you.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Well, look, there is a group that I've toured in the past that had a massive hit in the 80s that is known worldwide. And only one person's name was the songwriter. And now what you've got is a situation where this person who is also the frontman, he's a multi-millionaire because every time that song's played at an American football stadium, every time it's played on the radio, the songwriting royalties go one way. And the rest of the band rely almost exclusively on their live touring income, which I don't think's a bad way of earning a living, but it must be difficult.
I cannot imagine that would go over well in the tour bus.
It can't. There has to be a disparity. But I think probably where a lot of groups rejoined back together, like a lot of groups from the 80s, they rejoined. Same thing I've just talked about with Gerry. The fans from the 80s, when grunge hit, we all know what happened there. We all went back to those 80s bands around the turn of the millennium. All of a sudden, they weren't recording new material, but they were back touring again. They joined back up again, a lot of those groups. And, I think at that point, most of them were just feeling fortunate that the original band members were back together. I think they'd all come to peace with the fact he was a rich man. We're not as rich, but we need each other. And look, because of the song, we're fortunate enough to be able to still pull a crowd. So therefore we can make money. But I'm not sure where I was going with the Nashville split idea.
You know what, man? I'm loving it. How good of a time are we having here?
Having a
it's
ball.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So while we've got this set up, I want to give a try of maybe a verse and a chorus of the live song. Let's
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
So yeah. So the song King of Liverpool, like I sort of started with, often my trusty acoustic guitar. Now, would you believe this? Oh, yeah, you can see it. This, I need to give a shout out, Dave, if that's okay.
Man.
We are very lucky in our hometown to have a gentleman called Keith McMillan. And I think that Keith is one of the world-renowned luthiers. Not that I've come across many other luthiers.
Yeah.
But honestly, Dave, this guitar literally was in two pieces about a year ago. I'd owned it for about 15 years, and I'd literally, as we all do, I had it sitting up against the couch, and something knocked it, and it fell over. Now, I've never had a guitar break, but literally this headstock snapped clean off. And I put it on social media. I was like, anyone got any ideas? And people were like, dude, it's done. So I started looking around for other guitars, and I'm a big fan of the fact that a guitar chooses you. You don't choose it. I went out, I reckon I played 20, 30 different acoustics. None of them were drawn to me. And when I bought this one, I remember seeing it at a music shop in Romford in Essex in London. And the first thing that I was drawn to was its power insignia. I love an aesthetic. I love how things look. But I did this. I just literally went, and just straight away, it was all there.
Still sounds great.
Yeah, after all these years. Well, Keith, God bless him, he took a look at it, and I said, Keith, is there anything you can do with this? He goes, yeah, no, I'll sort that for you.
Yeah, and he can.
Nothing has changed. I can't tell you what Keith did. Maybe that's something that's in a luthier handbook. I believe luthiers are probably one of those lost arts. It's a bit like someone who knows Morse code, or there's other things that are kind of almost, because we rely so heavily on asking out of AI now, what is that? How do you do that? Or you watching YouTube tutorials. Somehow Keith learnt this back in the day, and here we've got it. Anyway, yeah, traditionally with me, acoustic has been my go-to, and I know it's your go-to also, Dave.
Yep.
It's my first instrument, but I've got a baby grand in the house now, so I spend my entire time trying to find ways to write off the piano, but I'm not a piano player. I only know the basics. But this song...
But you know what, though? If this is in D minor, that's what Lick My Love Pump by Nigel Tufnell was written on the piano in D minor, the saddest of the keys.
The saddest of all keys. Well, there you
So
go.
I'm surprised
was it really
that...
Lick My Love Pump?
That's the name of his sad song, remember? When he's showing it to Rob Reiner. Yeah.
It does do, look, piano does do things in a way that the acoustic can't. For example, my main thing that I love on a piano is that you hit a chord and you descend with your left hand. You know, it's what the bass guitar would normally do, which is what I do. So I love hearing the left hand work around a chord progression while something on the right hand's just holding a melody line. Anyway, so I had an idea. I had a song name, The King of Liverpool. I'd started coming up with a chord progression where my left hand was moving around and I was fiddling around with my right hand. And then I did something that I've never done before, Dave. Mm-hmm. So I'd been struggling. I told you earlier, I'd been struggling because I wanted to make this a song. It wasn't just a song for me. It wasn't just a song I was going to chuck on Spotify. This is one that I'd like to gift. And I'm yet to gift, because it's not finished yet, to Gerry's widow. I want it to be something special. You told me about ChatGPT. Now, I know that AI is going to affect how songs are written. It's going to probably change the whole landscape of that. So I use this particular song idea as a let's see if something comes from it. And it was a really interesting process, because what I realized was, if it gives you a little something, then surely that if it sparks an ongoing idea, then it's really served its purpose. What it spewed out to me was actually a fully written song. I can honestly say, because I could read it to you if you wanted to, that I used, I reckon, about less than 10% of the idea.
Okay.
Well, what it was, so the chords weren't, the title wasn't, the title was mine. I came up with a song title called The King of Liverpool. I came up with a chord progression. I was just interested. It was something that happened the weekend after you and I had caught up, where I just wanted to see what it did.
Yep.
And the point that I wanted to make with it was, what it actually tuned out was a load of garbage. Right? However, what it did give me was...
unbelievable. ChatGPT spewing out garbage.
Yeah. What it did was gave me the first line. In Liverpool town, where the Mersey does flow, lived a man with a voice and songs strangers know. Gerry Marsden was his name, legend of his day. From the cavern to the cup, his legacy is here to stay. He sang, walk on, walk on. Through the wind and the rain we must walk on. Walk on, walk on. Though the king may be gone, we must walk on. da 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 da. So that gives you a verse and a chorus. Now, what we've got there is I wanted to take a salute to his famous You'll Never Walk Alone, which those lyrics, walk on, through the wind and the rain, totally different melody, but I wanted to incorporate it into my song. Okay? It's a bit like Bon Jovi's It's My Life. There's a line that goes, like Frankie said, I did it my way. You know, I'm just paraphrasing it.
Right.
But I did a totally different melody with it. But what ChatGPT gave me was that first bit of In Liverpool Town. I went, yeah, in Liverpool Town. Of course, what a cool way I always called London Town, but in Liverpool Town. I like that. And now the river that goes through Liverpool is called the Mersey. So I was like, I came up with that line, where the Mersey does flow. Lived a man with a voice. It just got me started. Literally, it got me started. And for that, I'm quite thankful. So is there a place for AI? Maybe. But I should read you out what it had for the chorus of this song. I tried it just for giggles, but it wasn't right. I don't think it would have connected with it like this is connected, because that's what a human does, is goes, well, what's going to connect with who I want as the end listener of this song, which for me is Pauline. I want a little bit of Gerry's most famous song in there so that it connects it all together. Probably means I'd have to credit Rodgers and Hammerstein in the Nashville split. But it's a work in progress, Dave. Look, the other side of it is now how I record a song and how I write. So there was a time where I would write the entire song on an acoustic guitar. And interesting enough, I've been watching a Robbie Williams doco lately. Have you been watching that?
Yeah, I've started it. It looks great. And I got as far as he was in bed. And he said, if I'm not on stage, I'm in bed. And I was in bed. And I was like, oh, I'm just watching me up there. Like, it's just this. It's boring.
Yeah.
No, I am going to get to it. It's on my to-do list. The timing's perfect because he's here right now.
Well, he's just gone. But yeah, he was at Mission over the weekend.
I was like, look at that. Isn't that amazing? They just released it. I wonder if Netflix syncs that up. Do you think they sync that up?
I would say they did the release for New Zealand and Australia at a time with this too, 100%. He's not big in America, right? He means nothing in America, and they talk about that in the documentary.
Yeah.
But it's where he lives. So Netflix would probably, it's irrelevant when it goes up there. But I'd say in England, it'll go up. If it hasn't already, it'll go up in time for whatever touring he's doing there. The point I'm making, though, on that was him and Guy Chambers, who was his writing partner, back in the day. Now, don't forget, this is
that dude has a killer TikTok as well, actually.
Guy Chambers?
Yes, it's good. It's really, shout out to that. I followed it for a while. It's incredible. He gives stories all the time about, how they wrote Angels, and he'll sit down at the desk. He's giving the story. It's fantastic. It really is.
Watch. Well, it really intrigued me because there were the two of them, literally around an acoustic guitar, trading ideas, trading a little bit of something, and writing the song from top to bottom. Now, that's how I used to do it. I had a song, one of my first songs I ever wrote was called She's My Girl, and A minor. I always loved A minor.
Yeah.
And I used to have the whole thing written on an acoustic guitar because I couldn't pay to go into a studio, so I couldn't get the whole idea fleshed out until I'd written it fully on an acoustic, taken it to my band, worked it through as a band, and then by that point I'd gotten to take it into a studio. Now, because I've got my home studio, a Logic Pro X, that's not how I wrote it. I literally put down the nuts and bolts of the song. I looped it. I put down a bit of a solo. Then I thought, well, how am I going to do my verses? So I recorded the next part, and in the end, and then I literally took off all my scratch vocals, and I've been working on it since then with a track. Now, I'm still not finished with it, Dave. And in fact, one thing I'd love to do with you at some point is actually get your collaboration on it, see what your view is on how to do the vocal phrasing and all that. But going back to the Robbie Williams things, back in the 90s, they wrote all those songs just on an acoustic guitar and had it all the way through before it was taken to the band, or before it was sort of put down on a little mobile studio. Whereas now that's just not how I write. I flesh it out to a much more advanced place to really see if there's more I can do with the melody line and the lyrics before before it's finished. So that's where I'm at with it at the moment.
I'd like to see those chords again, please, because it's pretty neat. Can you play it once again slowly, and just play it one more time and let's have a look.
So the verses that I sang before is D minor, in Liverpool town, D minor, to a G minor, where the Mersey does flow.
See, that's a really neat.
Then A7, lived a man with a voice.
Yeah, you're already using
song strangers know.
Great chords.
Then C.
Yeah,
which sort of resolves itself.
But that's a lot of neat stuff. I mean,
and then the chorus. Walk on.
Yeah.
B flat.
The 4. Yep. Back to the 6. The relative minor.
G minor.
Yeah, that's nice in there. Really tasty too.
Be gone, we must walk on. Yeah. And it's really cool also for devising guitar solos. When you got that whole the whole backing track down, for someone like me that's not sort of classically theory trained, I just need to hear it over and over, and then I get a bit of a vibe going, and before you know it, I've come up with a bit of an idea. So anyway, that's that song, Dave, and it's still a work in progress. And at the moment, where I'm spending most of my time on it is on harmonies, which is not my strong suit. Shout out to your wife, actually, Jane, who's an incredible harmonizer. And look, that brings up a really interesting thing. I've always been quite down on myself as a songwriter and as a musician that harmonies is not my strong suit. In fact, it's just not a suit at all, to be honest. I have to be taught a harmony. I have to hear it, drill it in. And I'm always in awe when someone can just go, oh yeah, and quickly harmonize over top. And I found out more and more and more, especially lead vocalists, traditional lead vocalists, are not actually great harmonizers. And people go, oh, but it's just your ear.
I thought so.
It's just your ear.
That explains a lot.
Well, that's my excuse anyway. That's what I'm keeping to.
It's a great excuse, and I think we should stick to it.
I think what it comes down to is that when this is the importance of collaboration, and I think that's the only problem with home studios is we don't collaborate as much as we used to. In places like Nashville, they do collaborate a lot.
Yeah.
But I collaborate at the moment with my old singer who's based in Melbourne. I come up with an idea, send it over to him, put it on the Google Drive. He chucks it in his computer. He lays down some melody lines, maybe adds a few lyrics, back to me. I add some things to it, back. I love the fact that
that's really cool that you're doing that.
Collaborate
that's awesome.
Remotely. And in fact, a new album that's just coming out at the moment, Dolly Parton's Rockstar album. Have you heard about that story?
No, I haven't.
So Dolly was proposed or nominated, should I say, to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
She turned down the nomination because she said, I've been in this business 60 odd years. I'm a country artist. How can I possibly be nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when I've never done a rock and roll album, and all these very accomplished rock bands and musicians are still not nominated? I'm sorry, I can't do it. And then she came up with the idea, unless I show that I'm deserving of being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by actually recording a rock album.
So Dolly did a rock album.
She's done it called Rockstar.
Oh,
and
Lord.
I listened to the new single that
I had
was
no
out
idea.
Her and Miley Cyrus did a version of Wrecking Ball. It's a mix of covers and originals.
Yep.
But she's got collaborations with everyone from Rob Halford of Judas Priest through to
Yes.
Richie Sambora of Bon Jovi through to You name it.
No, this is news to me. I'm so excited.
But all of it was done collaboratively, and this is what's really got me more and more inspired about. This is the cool thing about technology.
Wait. So they're not covers. They're original songs.
Some are covers. So the single that's out at the moment is a version of Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball.
Mm-hmm.
The album's yet to be released, but some of them are original, some of them are covers of famous rock songs. But she's done like 36 songs. It's like a double... Not even a CD.
36 songs.
Something like that, right?
That is not an album.
And she's saying, and I listened to
Lord.
the production of it. The production is spectacular.
Really?
And it's getting huge plaudits in Classic Rock magazine. And you know what? If it ends up becoming a hit, she deserves her place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Is it out there on Spotify right now?
Only the single is. It's on pre-order. It's about, I think it's released on Thursday. I urge you to check it out.
I'm definitely going to. I was going to say we should break for lunch right now and go listen to it. Have you ever heard Pat Boone did an album called In a Metal Mood?
Yes. Yeah.
I can't stump you on that one.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Yes.
No more Mr. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to laugh at Dolly's expense because I have a feeling it's going to be so much better. She's so great. My daughter absolutely loves Dolly. The documentary was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it still is.
Yeah.
She watched it, fell in love immediately. Jolene's her favorite song. I mean, how good is Dolly, man?
Dolly is a treasure.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
will never be. We say that about a lot of our legends, right?
Yeah.
There will never be another Dolly Parton.
You know what's funny about her? She always says and does the right thing, too. It's that Southern, it's that value that was instilled in her, right? As a little girl, I'm sure.
Yeah.
She always, and even right there to your point about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's the right thing. That was the right thing to do. And, oh, man. Yeah,
but if she gets to where she's
her.
going to get to with this album, then she deserves her place. And I just thought it was so bold.
Yeah,
Dolly Parton does not need to do anything anymore that she doesn't want to do, but everybody is up for it. From what I gather, I'd need to check the list of who's collaborating, but it's the who's who.
Yeah,
it's the who's who of rock have seen the validity and have believed in this.
That went around in a pretty neat circle. I think just given the time, we should. Take a stop right now and have a look, have a listen. Okay. And here we go. Okay. We're cool.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you, Lates. That was really fun. So far, we're not done with Lates yet. All right. Oh, I had the wrong camera on. Here we go. Signing off.